we're going to begin with what's being called Brazil's January 6th, with rioters attacking that country's seat of government. This is what it looks like in Brasilia right now. That's where troops are lining up across from those protesters. Again, look at the pictures on your screen. The deadline to clear them now just 4 hours away after this happened yesterday. Those rioters are supporters of former President Jair Bolsonaro, stormed and vandalized Brazil's Congress, Supreme Court, and Presidential Palace on Sunday. Security forces used tear gas to clear protesters and regain control of the buildings. Officials declaring overnight the riots are over. At least 400 people are under arrest this morning. The unrest coming a week after the inauguration of President Lula da Silva, who is vowing to punish those responsible for the attacks. Straight now to CNN's Rafael Romo tracking the developments for us this morning. Rafael, good morning to you. What is the situation in Brazil's capital this morning?
Good morning, Don. Well, it's finally under control, but it looks like a war zone. And allow me to paint the picture of what transpired in the last 24 hours. Imagine for a moment that the January 6th mob here in the United States had not only breached the Capitol, but also the White House and the Supreme Court building. That's exactly what happened in Brazil Sunday, an insurrection that ended with the arrest of at least 400 people, left the main public buildings in the country inoperable, and deepened a political crisis that has been brewing for months. Brazil boiling over. Supporters of former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro stormed key buildings in the country's capital Sunday, breaching security barriers and temporarily occupying the country's Congress, Presidential Palace, and Supreme Court. Masses of protesters flooded the country's seat of power, many dressed in the colors of Brazil's flag, yellow and green, fueled by anger and distrust over Bolsonaro's defeat in a runoff election last October, where he lost by less than 2 percentage points to current President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Protesters threw objects and scaled the roofs of buildings while clashing with police, who responded with tear gas. At least one protester was seen sitting at the desk of Brazil's Congress president. CNN Brazil reports the floor of the Congress building was flooded after the sprinkler system activated when protesters attempted to set fire to the carpet. By evening, police began dispersing the rioters from buildings and arrested hundreds of people who were detained in buses before being taken to the police station. President Lula da Silva, who was inaugurated just a week ago, described the events as barbaric and vowed to punish the people responsible.
Those people that we call fascists, we call them everything that's abominable in politics. They invaded the government headquarters and they invaded the Congress like vandals, destroying everything in their path.
President Lula da Silva also blamed his predecessor for the lack of security in the capital, where Bolsonaro's supporters have been camped out for over a week. Bolsonaro, who is currently in Florida, denounced what he called the depredations and invasions of public buildings in a tweet, adding that peaceful and lawful demonstrations are part of democracy. But critics say Bolsonaro may have stirred up the crowds by repeatedly saying, without evidence, that he questioned the integrity of the country's electronic voting system. More details have emerged overnight about how violent some of the pro-Bolsonaro protesters became. Done. At least 12 journalists were attacked, robbed, or had their equipment destroyed. Now back to you.
Just an awful situation. Thank you, Rafael. I appreciate that.